It's game 2 of a back-to-back for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. They are at home hosting Columbus. Pregame is at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. And in net tonight for the Sabres, signs are pointing to Colton Ellis getting the start after Alex Lyon left the morning skate yesterday due to a lower body injury. And the Sabres injury report is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Packed night tonight around the rest of the NHL and some notable games in the Eastern Conference to keep an eye on. The night gets started at 6:45. It's Toronto at the Islanders, and then games also at 7 o'clock. Montreal plays host to Tampa Bay. Flyers are at the Red Wings, and the Senators, they host the Florida Panthers. To baseball, the Bisons are home against Syracuse. The Bisons do currently trail 4-1 in the 6th. The Yankees got underway early today. They have the Athletics in town. That game is scoreless in the 6th. And later on tonight at 7, the Mets play host to Arizona. While in golf, the Masters got underway this morning. Round 1, Sam Burns has the solo lead at 5 under. And then last year's champion, Rory McIlroy, he is in second at 4 under. And enter for a chance to win a trip to the night before the draft in Pittsburgh, April 22nd. It's an all-star invite-only concert starring Jason Aldean, John Morgan, Shane Prophet. Just days before, Jason's new album, Songs About Us, drops on April 24th. Enter the national contest at Odyssey.com/thenightbefore. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think that's a very good attitude.
It's Mike Schopp.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box. You know who you're talking to.
It's the Bulldog.
I'm talking to the juice box guy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty. Why don't you go to hell? No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box? I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you
It's
are.
Mike
I'm not.
Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Okay. I'm not crazy, I'm just thirsty. Am I crazy for still thinking Luukkonen will play tonight? Do we actually know anything?
No, I don't think we know anything. We know anecdotally. We know he played last night. We know Lyon left the morning skate with an apparent injury.
I'm assuming he's not playing tonight.
I'm assuming Lyon's not playing, and I have been assuming Luukkonen would not play. But that is just that's an assumption based on history, and them not really using guys back-to-back and even in consecutive games hardly at all this year. So I've all along thought I'd be surprised if Luukkonen played, and you have sort of left the door open, which is right because you never know.
Well, I would say this. If Lyon is healthy, okay. Ellis, though, doesn't that maybe change the equation? I mean, when was his last start?
February?
You're in first place with 3 games left, and you're off until Tuesday? I mean, I feel like I was early to don't play your starting goalie back-to-back ever.
Yep.
I would do it tonight if he's not really tired. I mean, if he's not exhausted.
Yeah.
He played Monday, too. These are high-pressure games. Come back last night. It's not a given to me that – what was this? This setup is just killing me. I don't know how he feels, but I would make an exception tonight if he told me he was good. I think.
Well, don't they almost always tell you they're good?
Well, okay.
Right? That's
Fair point.
where the risk about taking the guy's word for it. I mean, it's the old manager comes out to the mound. Like, no, I'm good. Like, is Pedro going to tell Grady Little? No, actually, I'm gassed. I'm shot. I know I'm the guy, but get me out of here. Like, they never do that.
So would you never play Luukkonen tonight? You would never do it?
I don't want to say I would never do it. It would have a lot to do with how comfortable I am with Ellis. And, you know, there's the morning show has dubbed him Captain Chaos or Colton Chaos. That's it, because his first name is Colton, not Captain.
What does that mean?
It's just like sort of.
Oh,
you know, he can be all over the place.
that is what chaos might sound like.
Yeah. So that's
if it had a voice.
Yes, right. So I mean, I don't know. He's made me nervous every time he's played, even when he's played great. So I don't love the idea, but I just don't. I would be surprised if they went back to Luukkonen. I mean, it's a different time of the year.
How do you not? Okay.
If you want to get everybody in, this is really the only place you're going to get the other guy in.
Well, that is a good point, and that is that comes down to how bad Lyon is hurt, how badly he's hurt. All right, because the playoffs are a week and a half away.
Yep.
So if he's got some sort of a grade 2 strain, something like. By the way, I've got a thumb strain today, and I'm going to need a grade on it.
Couldn't even get through the first segment
without mentioning it.
Right.
So if anybody watching sees me cringe when I pick up something, because that's been happening today, maybe they could just sort of throw out a number. Grade, what does it go up to? 3? Is there a grade 4 thumb strain? I don't know.
I'm not aware of the levels of strains.
If Lyon is down, he's got something where it's like a month, 2 to 3 weeks even. Then I'll listen to Ellis.
Yeah.
Because I might think he's important now.
You might need him. Yeah, right.
He's important now.
Sooner than you think. Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't. I never have.
Right.
And I'm trying to win this thing now. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it.
Come on. Come on, Luukkonen. I mean, he's 20. You just turned 27. He's never gone deep, right? He's never been, which it could be an argument against it, but he's rolling. I'm doing it. I don't even think it's close for me tonight, unless he's got a problem. I don't even think it's close. I'm not starting Colton Ellis in game 80 with a 2-point division lead.
Don't you just love it when someone does something completely unexpected, which is take a position that's kind of contrary to where they stood most of the time? This is great. I'm not being cute. I think it's awesome that you're there.
This is what. Hang on. Sorry. This is what people always told me for years about fourth down. But Mike, there are exceptions, and I have mostly capitulated on that. You know, talking to Sean McDermott over the years, and there was growth with McDermott when it came to fourth down.
Sure, yeah.
And he got to a point where he talked about having his team of people who would help him, decide what to do and all the research that went into it. But he also said, "Look, we talk before every game." I believed him. Why not? We talk before every game about the opponent, maybe the weather, like what kinds of variables are there. And so I, as somebody that would say, nope, I don't care. I've got thousands of NFL games in my pocket. I know what it means to go on 4th and 2 from the plus 42. I don't need to know, how the Eagles are going to line up.
Yeah.
So, but mostly I've capitulated on that, and kind of the safe space in this realm is that you need both. You want to have the data. This is where the data people, I think, have had to sort of let the other side have something. Because data was just pounding them over the head every time with how teams were adding analytics people and just sort of winning, crushing the war on this. Okay, well, we're not going to say your experience is worth nothing or these other factors are completely necessarily meaningless. Anyway, yeah, I think the point is, I think there are times where there can be exceptions.
Yep.
That's all.
I wonder how. I would bet they weigh every bit of data they can about this, and I would think load management is central to it, because I wonder how much risk there is. There's a certain amount of fatigue that would come with playing 2 nights in a row. There's maybe a certain amount of fatigue that would come with starting 3 games in a row or 4 out of 5 when you haven't played but every other game for months on end. Maybe on top of suddenly starting to play games in a row, throwing a back-to-back on top of it would be considered risky from a load management standpoint. And I would buy that. Maybe there's only so many splits or, way side to sides you can do before something you'd end up like Anthony Stolar's last night, which is like, oh, I'm trying to go down. You're done.
Missed that.
See you later.
What grade?
I didn't get a grade. But nothing, he didn't get hit, just, tried to stretch out and just something popped. So I think they'd want to be really careful. Luukkonen is now the number one goalie, which, of course, is the reason why you're compelled to put him in, because every one of these games matter, and there is time. There's time after, but there has not been much time before. So he's
one shot on goal in the third and a 1 hour flight.
He's played a lot. I don't know. I would want to be really careful with him, especially now that Lyon is dinged up.
Well, interesting way to frame that. Because careful, okay, well, I like the idea of careful. Tell me then, what exactly is the risk? Anthony Stolarz is the risk. 3 and 4 is so egregious.
I don't know
that he'll probably get hurt. I mean,
Jesus Christ! I'm not saying he's probably going to get hurt, Mike, but I'm saying there's a reason why guys don't play back-to-backs, and it's all about load management.
Yes.
And you're staring right down the barrel of that with 2 games to go after tying in the regular season. I think you'd want to be careful.
I don't have my 1B. I like careful. Like I said, I like careful, but what's the opposite of careful in this particular instance?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can tell
Dangerous?
you how reckless it is.
Reckless. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
To do it.
I know you're not saying he will get hurt, but how reckless is it? I mean, it is a question for goalies because even though they used to play a bigger share of games forever, our whole hockey lives until when? The last decade? Like number ones, what was Ryan Miller in a given season? And Baron was a great backup.
I remember talking with Darcy about 70 games being a goal for them. To get Miller, they wanted to get Miller to 70 games.
Yeah, now that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, with the occasional exception for somebody who can just physically has proven he can handle it, and maybe the backup isn't any good. I mean, Luukkonen has played 34 this year. Fewer than Lyon even. That's not starts, although starts is also fewer, 33. I don't know. I guess how much, before we get too carried away with ourselves arguing about it, how much of this that matters is unknown. A lot of it. How he feels.
Right, to us.
How Lyon feels is unknown to us.
It's all unknown to us, right.
It's like the guy yesterday calling up, I would sit Thompson. All right, tell me what you know about his injury. Oh, I don't know anything. I would sit Thompson, though. You got to know what you don't know.
Right.
And in this one, there's a lot that we don't know. But, man, I admit, I've said it consistent. If this counts as being consistent, I have consistently said I am all over the road on this division race. I mean, not long ago, I was it was irrelevant to me.
72 hours ago, you wanted them to finish in the second wild card to go play Carolina.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that happened. So
that's right. Now I can taste it.
Today, you're damn the Torpedoes, put the goalie back in.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I guess some of that is on me, but some of that is that information changes and how hot Montreal has been over the last few weeks, and the idea of not having to play the Canadian. Well, this is, what's your latest on this? Because you corrected me recently on like Montreal versus Boston as opponents. How much better would it be to play Boston?
I think it's really worth it.
Okay, so this is a pro for considering tonight's game big.
Yes, because that you win the division, that's very much your most likely opponent.
Versus playing Canadians or Tampa.
Right.
Which, count me in.
Yep.
And there's still a chance at that other wild card, too, if you win the night.
That's right.
Carolina at Chicago.
And that other wild card right now is Ottawa.
Well,
I don't really want that. Nothing has changed. The latest for me is the same. Most desirable to least desirable, I would go Boston of the most likely opponents. Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, Tampa. I got to put Tampa at the top of the list. I just think that's going to be the hardest out.
You just went reverse.
Right. But right. I mean, but yeah. So who I want to see: Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, Tampa.
Tell us how you feel. 803-0550 is the number. Ottawa home to Florida tonight. They'll be a big favorite. Is Boston off? I don't see Boston anywhere. They have played an extra game than some of these other teams.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, just like the other night, there's a bunch of 7 o'clock. It was Tuesday night. The Sabres weren't playing, but there's a bunch of 7 o'clock games that are all pertinent to the race. But, yeah, Boston is not one of them. They are not. I'm even looking at out west. There's no way they're going out west right now. So, yeah, You've got 6:45, by the way.
Yes.
Maple Leafs Islanders.
ESPN
so that,
Plus.
ESPN Plus, Disney, Hulu, whatever. Lightning, Canadians, Panthers, Senators, Flyers, Red Wings, Penguins, Devils. There's only one team that matters there, but Penguins. Those are all at 7 o'clock tonight.
Penguins are pretty locked in at Metro 2, I think. Anyway.
I think that is right.
Maybe one win.
They are at 96. Yeah, they're 4 points up on Philly. I don't know if they play.
Boston is off until Saturday when they host Tampa at 12:30. And then it's back-to-back at Columbus Sunday at 6. And they end Tuesday against Jersey. That's Boston. Possible that they don't get more than 2 points out of that.
Yeah.
98. That puts them in Ottawa's sights.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
So those teams could flip.
Ottawa's still played one fewer game than them. Yeah, you said Boston's played the next. They played the same number of games as Buffalo.
Well, who thinks they know the answer to this one? I mean, you got to think it's important enough to call in, right? I mean, it's not. This is our new hockey lives.
We mean the goalie, or
yes.
who we want to play? The goalie.
Well, there's always that, right?
Yeah,
I like that too.
Right.
It's really almost the same point. It's almost the same question, because why how you might put it, force Luukkonen into action tonight is with an eye on first place and how much that matters to you, and that tells you something about their bigger thoughts. It's an interesting list of pros and cons.
Yeah, I think on the side of putting your best guy in tonight, I mean, obviously there's not that many games left. There is the time off afterward. And, you don't want to be sitting around all weekend watching those teams pass you again. At least if you can get a 106 on the board, somebody's going to pick up 2 points tonight. Hopefully the loser doesn't pick up a point as well between Tampa and Montreal. But, somebody's going to close that gap on you. And then they're going to play on the weekend, and you're sitting around till Monday. And, that's it. Just if you are stuck on 104 points, there's a real good chance you're back in third place by the time you get on the ice again.
I mean, you win the night, whether it's Ellis or Luukkonen, or even Lyon, I suppose. Not like he's been ruled out, but that seems likely. So you get to 106. Somebody wins the game in Montreal to get to 104. That has to happen.
Right.
And then you're off until Monday, and you're going to go to Chicago and be minus 300 to beat Chicago.
Right.
To get to 108. And then you can't be passed. You can only be tied, I think. So, yeah, it sounds pretty delicious.
Yeah, and the opponent tonight is fighting for their lives.
What about Luukkonen? One more question on this, then calls. What is Luukkonen's, I think I'll want to change this word, responsibility, or like a preferred approach to this question tonight? Like, does he try to bang down the door to play? Does he do whatever they tell him? Like, does he get it? Like, you've gotten me this far, and you're the coach.
I mean, what
would you want?
I think anyone who's a competitor, who's been involved in any kind of competitive sport, and this is obviously the highest level in that chosen sport that you can get to, the NHL, you'd want the guy to want to play, right? And that's where I think training staff, monitoring, load management, whatever, has got to have some. I'm sure they've got a ton of data on frequency of injury, frequency of playing, how often it does happen when a guy has played whatever, like 3 and 4 hours on the, who knows? There's all kinds of stuff that they would be spitting into. And it's going to increase the danger, but it doesn't have to make it overwhelming. I don't know. Honestly, it's not information I've ever had shared with me. But I think you'd want the guy to want to play. And the idea is you have to protect him from himself. Is why you're there. You're the adults in the room. Like, look, we don't want to put you in this position. We got a big picture in mind. Yes, we want these 2 points, but it's not responsible for us to throw you back out there, especially when you haven't done it in, I don't know, when's the last time has he ever played like a Friday, Saturday, or a Wednesday, Thursday like he would be tonight? I don't even know.
It was January. Before last week, it was January when he'd played 2 games in a row.
Right.
That was not back-to-back.
Right. That
That was a Saturday afternoon and then a Monday afternoon with travel in between.
Okay.
Minnesota, Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds right.
I bet everybody in that room wants him to play. You know?
Yeah.
Does the captain have a say? Is Jason Zucker around? No morning skate? I mean, no offense to the other guy. Maybe he'll be fine. It's just, I think it'd be tough to live with. What would be tougher to live with? Ellis, months since starting a game, thrown in relief in Washington, didn't go well. Like, you're up in the division with a week left. Wouldn't it be tougher to live with starting him and losing than Luukkonen? For me, an easy yes. The injury risk, it shouldn't be completely dismissed. But man, all those years of goalies playing all those games, it wasn't injuries that were the problem. It was like just not having as much success in the back-to-back.
Well, fatigue. Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah, that's why maybe the best point I've heard so far is how the third period went last night.
One shot, 2 minutes left.
He mostly
easy save.
He got to mostly stand there in the third period.
I mean, there should have been more shots than one.
Pretty great. I mean, he was moving around more, but it was only one. There were shots that missed the target that he, acted like I have to try to save this.
Yes.
So he didn't just get to stand there and lean on his stick like Ken Dryden in the 70s.
No, it wasn't a kids game where the puck was in the other end the entire
but
game.
But it was not a hard night. At least the end of it wasn't hard.
3 days off.
They were kind of a mess in the first, especially the first period. Holy cow, were they a mess.
Here's Kevin with us. Kevin, what would you do?
For the Luukkonen thing, you got to bang on that door and you got to hope you get in. But you got to respect the coach. But I want Tampa, 3-0-1. That's who I'd want to go against. That close to being 4-0.
You mean like in the first round? You'd like to drop to 2-3 with them?
Yep.
I can't get there. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's the best team out there, or one of them. I mean, maybe the Sabres are, maybe it's Carolina, but to me, that's easily the hardest first round draw. Is the Lightning?
I don't think there's any question. I mean, I'm even putting them ahead of Ottawa. You know how spooked I am by Ottawa.
Hey, you are spooked by Ottawa. Yeah. Has anybody ever been spooked by Ottawa before this? Yes. They were pretty good there for a minute.
I also wonder, I mean, there's so much, and this should not be the first consideration, but like Lindy has maintained all along here. I mean, clearly they've got their pecking order, and when they were running hot, it was Luukkonen and Lyon just trading starts, and Ellis sort of fell out of the picture. His turns just disappeared. And that's what it should be. I think he's the least accomplished of the three guys, but Lindy's always made sure. I think I even heard him mention it again yesterday or after the game. All three of our goaltenders have done such a great job for us. I wonder if they want to get everybody in case we need Ellis. Let's get him a start. Like let him even. Maybe he's known this for 3-4 days since Lyon. Well, the Lyon didn't get hurt until yesterday, so maybe he's known since yesterday. Okay, kid, tomorrow's your game, and just let him get into that mode. And give him, I want to say give him the chance because that sounds like, little loop and we're playing for the division title here, but he's done everything that's been asked of him all year. I could see them wanting to give him another game before he goes into mothballs for the entire playoffs, which I'm sure is the plan. Like let's get him. He's done a good job for us. I don't think he's been great, but he's done a good job for us. He deserves the game. I could see Lindy saying that.
Boy, you wouldn't want to word it like that, Lindy. He knows he's been around a long time. You wouldn't want to word it like it's Fred's turn.
He earned the game.
I mean,
is that better?
It's 3 games left. I don't know. It really is. It's always this whole time been so interesting trying to fit. It's more lineup stuff than goalies, who plays on defense and who plays on the fourth line. Just like trying to calculate how much it matters to them to win this race. And again, that's also not something they would ever say they wouldn't, care about. That's
right.
You always want to, everything matters, right? So you never want to say something doesn't. But not everybody, having said that, thinks it's that important. And that was me, too, at different points along the way. Now I'm so close to it. I think part of that, in my own defense, part of that is or was that there were 15 games left or 10 games left, and I'm still not expecting to beat Tampa out. Now, I am. Now it's like super realistic.
Yep.
And I think that changes, or it's reasonable for that to change how they look at it. 803-0550, what would you do? We will break from the Sabres at 4 and talk with longtime New York sports writer Mike Vicaro, who has a book out about the Yankees. He's written several books, and we've been working with him, Bulldog has, try to find a good day for it. The Sabres have made that tougher by always being interesting. But we will do that today. Mike Vicaro coming up. Pregame for Sabres Blue Jackets with Paul Hamilton is at 6. Get some Masters takes mixed in along the way, too. Thanks for being with us. Again, we're eager for your calls, and we'll look for them again next here on WGR.
I was giving him credit. I said if just because it was Zach Benson, I wouldn't have passed that. I would have shot that, lift him off, and just put it right in the net. Anybody but Benson, I think, would have gotten it. But no, honestly, Donor he's a selfless guy. He learned from his old man, who is obviously one of the best in the league, just as far as a person goes, and great player.
Jason Zucker last night on the TNT postgame show. I was there for that. I'm your friendly host who now watches all the post-game coverage that I can get. I'm into it. Zucker has a interesting, fun personality. Good, good line. Anybody but Benson, I would have passed.
That crew. It was Chelios was there last night, and
Anson Carter,
Darren Payne. Right. Often that's Lundqvist in the Payne spot and Bissonnette in the spot that Chelios was in. But I just overall. I'm going to start reviewing and picking apart the broadcast. That crew, that studio crew, has really grown on me. I think it is far superior to the ESPN studio stuff they do with Messier and PK Subban, and I think it's Steve Levy is that's the number one team, like Saturday afternoon, ABC, this Bruin game you were mentioning. If it's ABC, it usually is in that window. That I think the TNT crew, even the second team, if you will, with Payne and Chelios there, they do a very good job of getting those guys, like a guy like Zucker, to be players are very comfortable with them. And I'm not sure what it is, if it's podcast related, because Bissonnette does a lot of stuff with the Spit and Chicklets people, I think. I don't know, but they get good stuff out of players. I see their post game stuff a lot, and they do a really nice job there. So I think their whole thing. I don't love that Ulchuk, but across the board, I think they are way better than ESPN.
Okay. I just got it a month ago, so
you're new. Yeah,
I'm new to it.
I'm saying they've grown on me over the last.
Kenny Albert can do any game I'm watching, almost any sport. Just never makes a mistake.
Kenny Albert was. He did. I saw him on a Sunday afternoon national game, and the next night he was doing a baseball game on FS1, and then he's everywhere. This guy, yeah,
NFL,
yeah. But I'm back-to-back nights,
Rock League,
like hockey, baseball. He's just going, man.
Is he doing Rock League?
But I like him. I don't know about Rock League. I don't even know what that is. But I do like him a lot, and I like Brian Boucher a lot. Olczyk, I don't really get, but I think they do a nice job.
Yesterday, around this time, we were talking about the decision the Sabres made to put in 2 new defensemen and 2 new forwards. I hardly ever even thought about it last night. The power play goal by Fox, where the Sabres were just super passive on that. They were just down bad a couple times on penalty kills last night.
Is that the one where Samuelsson and Fox Samuelsson ended up trying to block the shot out high? I think he and Tuck got crossed up. Tuck should have gone back out, and he didn't. They got mixed up, and so Samuelsson was late getting out there because he's not really supposed to be out there, but he was closest, so he went.
Well, maybe.
And they got all tangled up there.
But I was just thinking about Timmins on that play, because the argument for Timmins was penalty killing, and I'm just it's not working for me. There have been goals against since, in the games he's played. I don't think I need him to be on the short list here.
Mm-hmm.
But really, Kesselring, I saw him. A couple of fourth line shifts with Kozak and Pearson. Okay. It wasn't a big.
The numbers liked him last night, Kesselring. He had positive impacts, which, how much they'll weigh that, I don't know. He didn't play a lot. He played 10 minutes, 10, under 11, 10 and change. He played last night. And mostly they were not a pair. Mostly it was he was mixed in with the other guys. Yep. It seemed like is what they were doing with him. So
that's got to be intentional.
I would think, yeah. Let's sort of like they did with Mensah a few weeks ago. Let's see what you can do with if you're called on, kind of thing. We get in a game and we need you in a matchup, or someone's hurt or whatever. So but I don't know. I think it feels a little to me like that ice time. If he was having a good game, again, positive impacts on the shot data and scoring chances and all that stuff, you might think he would have seen a little more than just over 10 minutes. So I don't know what to take away from it. The ice time is pretty glaring to me that he, now they were chasing, the game for a good part of it there to get back to it. But still, that's just not a lot of ice time.
Nope, that's fair. 803-0550, the Zucker goal to give them the lead. And that's a Thompson goal right there. It's just banging on the stick, comes in, he has to bring it all the way around Shesterkin and then tucks it in. That's a beauty. I love this game. 2-0, McLeod shoots, goes in.
Right.
Another Benson moment, great play. Dahlin is the player, I think, right, that throws that in, Benson. Mm-hmm. Then it was a struggle. It was even a struggle at 2-0.
They were lucky to be ahead at all in that game with the way, right away. Samuelson had a really bad one. Kessering had a not as bad one, but it was still just a up the wall to nobody giveaway. And Timmins had one, and Power had it. They all had their turns with just not good passes to the middle of the ice in their own zone, which is, tough. It's so funny when that happens, you get a lot of, I do anyway. You're like, we learned in squirt hockey, you don't pass it to the front of your net. And I finally, I see that constantly whenever there's a giveaway, in the front, in the offense, in their zone, there's that a lot. And I know we were all coached that by our dads and by my dad's friends and whomever, right? That was coaching you when you were 9. Watch, the middle, the front of your own net is often a place of breakout starts because teams know you want to go up the walls, so they're taking that away, and you got to be heady, you got to be smart, you got to make sure you double check, right? Make sure you're not about to just serve up a nice delicious pizza to somebody, but that is often the outlet to relieve pressure when you're getting hemmed in there. You just get a guy right next to your goalpost and just get him the puck and you're gone.
That's right. The game tonight, so no morning skate or anything. We're talking about who the goalie might be, and that applies to the rest of the lineup too, because there's no information today. What would you do?
I would
Stanley and Metza?
Yeah, yes, I think so. I would put. I don't. If they want to get a look at Kesselring with Stanley, I'd be all right with that too. But I'm definitely making a change back there with a back-to-back, especially with guys who haven't played a lot of hockey recently. Timmins and Kesselring both qualify as that. So one of them, if not both, are coming out. But I'd be open to just taking Kesselring for a ride with Stanley. I've been curious to see if that could ever be a pair for them. So I'm doing at least one, if not two, back there. And, yeah, to me, Greenway goes back in. And
that's a lock.
Maybe done, whatever. I'm doing something else down there.
What does the matchup do to the strategy? Columbus, are they a certain thing that big, fast? They've been good.
You could want Dunn. I got to check to see if he's playing, because I haven't checked the Columbus stats. But Olivier is one of the baddest dudes in the league. He's a tough, hard fighter. And if you want to have somebody for that, then Dunn maybe is in the lineup because of that. If Olivier is up, healthy and playing.
Yeah, it makes sense to just go back to Monday.
Yeah. Without Shen, maybe. I don't know. To me, he had put him over there. If I could pick, I would put Kesselring in with Stanley just to see it. I'm gonna want to do that, I think, unless the question is whether I want to get him a game, want to get everybody a game. Are you trying to find anything out here, or have you already decided? Right? You maybe haven't decided who exactly you're going to pair with Stanley, but maybe you've decided Kesselring ain't it. It's possible. He's been so buried that maybe that they don't even need to see him with Stanley. They just know you're over there, despite your good numbers last night. But if I were picking the lineup, I would put him in with Stanley Kesselring.
6 o'clock pregame, 7:05. Sabres and Blue Jackets, game 80. Sabres up by 2 on Tampa and Montreal, and those two teams play each other in Montreal. No other team can catch the Sabres. Boston can't at 96 with 3 games left, so 102 is where they would top out. They're off tonight. And it's Carolina at 106 on the other side. They're in Chicago. They'll be tough to catch, especially with being a big favorite at the Blackhawks tonight, but still not out of reach entirely.
Right. And they have one more game to play than Buffalo, too. They've only played 78.
Mm-hmm. We have the Masters today. No rain in the forecast. I decided today I would rather it rain here the week of the Masters than there. That is a real bummer when you turn on like a big golf tournament, and it's any golf tournament if you really love it, and it's raining and they're not playing. They're showing last year's or Jack Nicklaus highlights. Mm-hmm. That's what the Masters would do. They wouldn't show you last year's. They would show you the bear, which, is great. But just, it's a big letdown when you do that. I'd rather it rain here. What do you think? Is that going too far? Do you agree? I'm going to be inside watching the Masters. I don't need it to be perfect out. I don't want it to be perfect out if I'm doing that.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. It's hard. I would like to be able to go play golf Saturday morning and then watch the Masters.
All right.
So I want both. I want to be able to do both. If I don't get out and play before next week at this time, I'm gonzo for 4 days. Well, 3 shows: Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And so if I don't play before I leave, I'm not playing until that week, and I don't know. That's the draft and the playoffs, and it's going to get pretty hairy. I mean, not that there's playoffs or the draft in the morning, but
there should be. There used to be.
I would like to, first round I played last year was April 15th. I know that because I keep a handicap now, and so that's there. I'd like to hit that date.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be the draft in the morning.
That's right.
The NFL draft on a Tuesday morning. Oh, I feel I got a bug coming. I can feel it. Just thinking about those days, I'm starting to feel a little bit nauseated. It's my grade 2 thumb sprain is really starting to distract me. I'm a little bit scratchy. Man, those were the best, though. I'd love one of these years. It'll never happen again. Everything has to be at night.
Right. Did you pull a sick day for the NFL draft?
I think I was probably legitimately sick.
Okay.
I'm going to say that because my parents do tune into our show.
Okay.
I'm not going to.
Not all these years later. Not cop.
No.
You tricking them.
No.
All right.
But I don't think they cared about the NFL draft, so it was just a Tuesday for them.
Right. They wouldn't have known that you were doing it for some reason.
They would not have seen through a potential ruse there by me.
So you could have gotten away with it if you had wanted to.
If I did do it, I probably would have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
What's the OJ book? If I did it?
I know.
Now it's the OJ book. If I did it. One of the great book titles. Wasn't that it? If I did it? Wow. Hey, speaking of books, The Bosses of the Bronx with Mike Vicaro, the author, coming up at 4. This is a way better book than If I Did It. Speaking of books. See this sign, maybe if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Bulldog's got it. The Sabres are back in the playoffs. WGR is your home for every moment of the run. Grab these Let's Go Buffalo signs at Lenco Supplies, featuring incredible discounts going on now. And get there with Liberty Cab, your ride on time every time. Here's Liberty Cab in the corner. There's Lenco in the other corner. There's us. Looks like we have a new logo in the middle, some subtle changes, or not that subtle. Mike Vicaro coming up at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Hey, it's Bulldog here for Window Nation.
Sabres are minus 125 to win tonight. Not much of a favorite. Got to be the back-to-back working. Columbus is, it's an important game for them.
Yeah, they
to put it mildly.
are. I don't think I even said it. They're 90 points, so they are
Two
back of the second wild card going into play tonight. And they have played, they've got 4 games left.
And the Flyers.
That's right.
And they should have a tiebreaker on the Flyers by regulation wins. They do.
They do by 2 games. Yep.
Flyers at Detroit tonight. Oh, it's got to be annoying for those teams because,
Yep.
One of them has to win.
Right.
The other one could still get a point, of course. Tampa Bay, Montreal tonight. Tampa, minus 122 on the road, favored at the Canadiens. So good. This date in Sabres history, 1988. April 9th, 1988 is the date of the John Tucker 4-goal playoff game against Boston. Yes, we were already into the playoffs somehow by April 9th.
Yeah.
And that was like game 3 or something.
That is game 3. I watched the highlights of the end of that game today.
Did it get stupid?
It got all-time stupid.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. The fans, like apparently.
Holy cow, I'm looking at the box. Oh, baby.
There's a fan element, too. I think game 2 or game 1, I don't remember which. It's Ted Darling and Mike Robitaille on the call. And there's some fights, and then fans behind the bench throw some stuff on the Bruins. And the way Mike Robitaille is talking, he's like, well, these Buffalo fans saw what was happening in Boston. And that sounds like I remember that. Like Boston fans, throwing stuff on the bench and there being an altercation between the Sabres bench and the Bruin fans in the Garden in one of the first 2 games of the series. Game 3, Sabres fans do the same sort of thing. And, yeah, it's hot. Like, Terry O'Reilly is, like, on top of the glass pointing at somebody, like, telling security, like, that guy. And a bunch of people get pulled out of there. And then, yeah, on the ice, it's just mayhem. There's fights right on the puck drop with, like, 47 seconds to go.
Yeah, that's it.
3 times in a row. Ruff gets tagged by Cam Neely badly. Like, so bad he immediately, like, they're squared off and they're going to go, and Neely hits him, and Ruff just covers up and goes down. Like, there's blood, and it's crazy. Shoe Bottom is involved here with Hartman. McGuire jumps Jay Miller. It's just one after the other.
Man, you did just watch this thing.
Right. And Roby's Ted Darling, they're cutting away to the studio, to John Gertler and... who was it? It was not someone I was expecting to see, and now I don't remember who it was.
Could it have been Paul Wieland?
I don't know. I would have recognized Paul. I'm not sure who the other person with Gertler was, but it's like, let's just cut away from this madness and get an update on the other games. And, like, here's John Gertler talking about the other games.
So good. Mike Vicaro after sports. Stay tuned.
Game 2 of a back-to-back tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. They are at home to host Columbus. Pre-game is at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. And in net tonight for the Sabres, it is unknown. No morning skate today for Buffalo. And yesterday at the morning skate, Alex Lyon left early with a lower body injury. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen played last night, so it could be Colton Ellis, Luukkonen, or Lyon. We'll find out closer to puck drop again at 7. And the Sabres Injury Report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. It is a packed night around the rest of the league. Some notable matchups for the Eastern Conference playoff race. The night actually does get started at 6:45, Toronto at the Islanders, and then also at 7 o'clock, Montreal plays host to Tampa. The Flyers are at the Red Wings, and the Senators, they host the Florida Panthers. In baseball, we did have some early afternoon action that's already in the books. Bisons fall to Syracuse 5-4, and just moments ago, the Yankees do go down 1-0 to the Athletics. While the Mets, they will get going as they host Arizona a little after 7 o'clock. And then for the Masters, round 1 is well and truly underway. Last year's champion, Rory McIlroy, along with Sam Burns, are the ones in the lead at 5 under. And join Schopp and the Bulldog for the annual pre-draft special Thursday, April 16th from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's streaming live on YouTube. Get the latest on who is being mocked where. Hear from the insiders and guest appearances from Jeremy White, Joe DiBiase, Nate Geary, and Sal Capaccio. It is brought to you by your Upstate Honda dealers. For great deals, your local Upstate Honda dealer today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp.
Last night at 12:30 in the morning, I ate a can of mushrooms.
I did.
Pieces and stems, if you're wondering. As opposed to buttons. It was pieces and stems, which will be my next year's fantasy football team name.
Pieces and stems.
Pieces and stems.
And the Bulldog.
I should be ashamed to admit this publicly, but whatever. How long have we been doing this? I'm a junkie. I can't be trusted.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
How quaint. My fantasy football team. How quaint. How do you not hear like scratches on the record with that clip? What is that, from the 60s? One team?
It's like putting an old copy of Dark Side of the Moon on the turntable.
Yeah, it should have a
Snap,
scratchy,
crackle, pop. Right.
You know, maybe some old-timey announcer speaking really fast with a high-pitched voice. Somehow, we don't have that there. It is our pleasure to welcome Mike Vicaro to the show, longtime columnist at the New York Post. And apologies for this, if this is, maybe embarrassing to me. I've known your work for many years, but I didn't know you were a Bonner guy. And Bulldog helped set this up. And he's in town. Mike McDonald, we know Mike from many years ago. So great occasion for you to be here at your alma mater and the announcement of the new coach.
Yeah, it really was, guys. Look, I mean, I've literally known Mike McDonald from my first day at Bonaventure. He was like the third guy that I met my first day freshman year.
Wow.
I wandered into the Butler gym, and he was there shooting some hoops, and that's how I met him. And that was only about 41 years ago or so.
It's annoying how young he looks.
It really is. It drives you crazy, right? I mean, he looked 12 when I knew him then. I think now he looks 15. And so that's when people have told me, about Mike McDonald, a little long in the tooth. I'm like, well, maybe, but no, he's not. He's literally the youngest man of that age that I know, and I think he's going to do a great job. I think it was an inspired hire. I don't have to repeat his resume with what he did at Damon and what he did at Madai, and he had some great years at Canisius also. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it was exactly the right guy at the right time, and I can't wait to see what happens. I really can't.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Have you had a good visit so far?
Yeah, it was terrific. Look, believe it or not, I'm actually back home. I was up and back in about a day and a half.
All
but
right.
I got a lot accomplished yesterday. I went to the press conference. It was a wonderful confluence of events, and then I had a book event on campus, and then I had a book event in town, and now I'm back trying to do my day job. Every now and again I got to remember that I have to pay my mortgage also, so I have to write about the Knicks tonight. But that's good. It's all good. It's good to be busy. It beats the alternative, right?
Yeah, right. Well, we're excited to talk to you about your new book, The Bosses of the Bronx. And I was wondering where to start with this. You tend to want to start at the beginning. And I recently, Mike, becoming somewhat of a Watergate buff, learned how George Steinbrenner was infamous, if that's not too strong a word, before he owned the Yankees. I mean, I was a little kid when he was the boss at that point. But watching I think it was Peacock, the special, the documentary, Joel Sherman's in it on the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot from Billy Martin's funeral, and it's Steinbrenner, Mantle, and Nixon sitting together at the funeral. So,
it sure was. I mean, Nixon famously told Billy Martin Jr., who was very upset, of course, that day, to look out at the crowds outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral. And, of course, they'd filled St. Patrick's Cathedral, and there were thousands of people outside. And he said, look at how many people loved your father. And, of course, that made Billy Martin Jr. still talks about that moment. And, that's not possible if not for the friendship between Nixon and Steinbrenner.
Yeah, right.
I really like the early because I'm 8 years old, I think, when he buys the Yankees. So I like any sports fan that paid any attention to baseball, I soon got to know all about him and all of the stuff that is detailed in the book and has been written about and talked about for decades here. Just the personalities that were there. Well, I loved the very beginning, like the backstory on him getting involved and how the front person at the initial news conference at the restaurant is doesn't know how quickly he's going to be pushed aside. And I had no idea. I forget the gentleman's name now. Is it Mitchell? I can't remember the name. You can tell us. But I just had no idea about that. Here's this guy thinks he's going to be the front person for this new group. And within days, Steinbrenner had already just get out of here.
Yeah, it really was that way. Michael Burke was the guy's name. It was funny. He was kind of the face of CBS when CBS owned the team, and it wasn't a very good tenureship for CBS, to say the least. But he helped put together the group that was including Steinbrenner, and in Burke's idea was that he was going to be the guy running things, and Steinbrenner was going to be the silent partner back in Cleveland. And of course, that's what Steinbrenner said on day one too, which turned out to be I don't know, either the biggest lie in sports history or the biggest irony in sports history, because he was anything but an absentee owner. But look, the Yankees had one foot out the door when Steinbrenner's group bought the team. They were, either going to New Jersey. New Orleans was trying to get involved because they were building the Superdome, and it was a real rough time around the Yankees. The ballpark was falling down, and Steinbrenner. The reason why Steinbrenner got the team, without the highest bid, was he promised William Paley, the CBS chairman, that he wouldn't leave New York and follow the Giants to New Jersey. And Paley bought that. Paley already knew he was going to go down as the guy who helped the Yankees kind of go sideways. He didn't want to be known as the guy that allowed them to leave town. And guys, it's funny. There's actually a part that didn't make the book. It didn't make the final cut, but will be interesting to you. Is that they're around here, January 3rd, it was almost a national holiday because that's when Steinbrenner bought the team, and it was kind of a surprise. But a couple of days before that, as legend has it, he was a regular at the Round Table, the old great restaurant and bar in Buffalo, kind of the Toots Shore of Buffalo. And word is that he was telling some of his cronies in the bar he was going to buy the Yankees. Of course, they all dismissed him. The kind of the lies that men tell in bars, right? Yeah. But all of a sudden, 3 days later, there he is on the podium talking about the Yankees. So George always had a great affinity for Buffalo, but he had a greater affinity for George Steinbrenner. He loved the idea of Steinbrenner owning the Yankees, and he lived it with gusto for 37 years to follow. Steinbrenner
was a Cleveland guy, so maybe he felt, Buffalo might have felt like home to him in some sort of certain way. We feel that way about Cleveland a little bit, kind of like going through not quite sports hell, Bulldog, that's too strong, but in the last 40, 50 years, they're kind of our cousins.
I felt attached to them when LeBron finally got them an NBA title. Yeah. I know that. I felt like I can feel you people. I feel like I am you people. So
yeah, you were happy about that.
I mean, I think there's a Rust Belt brotherhood there. But it's funny. He actually spent a lot of time in Buffalo when he was a shipbuilder, because it was one of the Steinbrenner family ships that pretty much helped take down the Michigan Avenue Bridge in 1959. So he had to be back in town a lot for various lawsuits and so forth. And yes. That's the reason why he got involved in the Round Table, because he always wanted a place like he fancied himself a guy who'd go to Toots Shore, for instance, a big bar in New York, and get a table. And of course, he was never able to do that, but he could certainly do it in Buffalo, where he was a presence and he was known. So that was kind of what he did.
Interesting. Mike Vicaro with us. The book is called The Bosses of the Bronx. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on WGR. One of my favorite stories in the book is the first one, where you talk about an interaction which was early in your relationship with him, when he calls you, it's 3:30 in the morning on the West Coast, and you're like, you wanted to talk to me, here's your chance, and how you held your own in that conversation. Curious for how you sort of remember that. And then from that, Mike, and the days forward, not that this is necessarily easy to do, but to try to put him in perspective. I mean, I'm not sure who in sports now really is that similar to Steinbrenner. It seems like maybe, not like that anymore.
He's a one-of-one guy. He really is. I mean, look, there have been other high-profile owners, Jerry Jones obviously says a lot of silly things, and Mark Cuban used to give press conferences from his exercise bike and all that stuff. But, I mean, the guy who was probably closest to him was Al Davis. He was also a friend of Steinbrenner's. They were both born on the same day, July the 4th, and it was a year apart. Al Davis was a year older. And it's interesting because that's actually the reason why I was trying to reach out to Steinbrenner and the story you talk about. Now, I talked to George a bunch when I was in the Newark Star-Ledger because he was involved in the Nets and the Devils also. They had a brief merger. So I was around him in group settings and stuff. But once I got the job at the Post, I realized, it's time to really develop a relationship with this guy. And it's always kind of a rite of passage, or it was for a lot of guys who showed up in New York and wanted to cover baseball, wanted to cover the Yankees, and it was getting George on the phone. And that was always a challenge the first time because, he would pick and choose who he wanted to call and call back. And so I was trying to pursue George for a while to do a story about his friendship with Davis. I was at the Super Bowl when the Raiders were playing the Chargers, they were playing the Buccaneers, in San Diego. And, 3:37 in the morning, my phone rings. And, of course, before you answer the phone, you're wondering who's dead or is my house burning down, because why else are getting a call at that time in the morning? And it was Steinbrenner, and he said, "You sound like you've been sleeping." And I said, "Well, I have been, George. It's 3:30 in the morning." And he said, "No, I'm not here. It's 6:30 in Tampa. It's beautiful and sunny. I'm going to work. What do you want?" And, of course, that's part of the beauty about Steinbrenner, right? I just tried to give you a Steinbrenner impression, but that wasn't the real Steinbrenner voice. That was the Larry David Steinbrenner voice, which everybody really knows, right? But, or at least my attempt at the Larry David Steinbrenner voice. But, and so that alone tells you what kind of a guy he was. I mean, he was a spinning top from the moment he woke up every day of his life because he had a million ideas. And, the perspective that I would bring to the book is this. I mean, I've been asked this a lot. Why did you write about Steinbrenner? There's been a million words written about Steinbrenner. He's had a couple of, really complete biographies written. And honestly, I deal with a lot of Yankees, younger Yankees fans, readers, people I just talk baseball with. And a lot of them, anybody who's under the age of 35, 40, they don't remember the George who was a little bit crazy, a lot controversial, very flamboyant in the 70s and the 80s, who was an everyday presence in New York baseball existence. They remember the older guy who would show up at Yankee Stadium and get cheered. They don't remember the guy who would show up at the same building 10 years earlier and get booed, and his name would be chanted with one unprintable name before it or one unprintable name after it. And it was a challenge to me to kind of introduce these generations of people to what Steinbrenner was, And I think even guys of our generation, I think we're about the same age, a lot of times these guys use selective amnesia because what they prefer to remember is the Steinbrenner at the end and not the Steinbrenner who drove them to drink in the 70s and 80s, which he did a lot of the time.
One of the things I enjoyed thinking about that sprang from, breezing through the book, Mike, is that so many of the stories are so familiar to me. As a Red Sox fan, and, even in Buffalo, there's plenty of Yankee fans here. And I think we tend to think, like, one thought I had was to wonder what the Yankee, all the drama with Reggie and Billy Martin and George, of course, would have been like in, like, nowadays with the viral videos and TikTok and Twitter and all the stuff. But it strikes me like in Buffalo, New York, I mean, I didn't know every detail. That's what your book is for, and others like it. But I knew all those stories were viral enough. Like, I knew it from the newspaper and from watching, the game of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I wanted to do. I realized that a lot of people would know the stories, the famous one's a born liar, the other's convicted story, and I'm the story that served the drink. But there was a challenge to me to try and kind of just find some more stories behind those stories. And when you try and make it a George-specific version of those stories, that allows you to really find different aspects of that story, and that's kind of what I was really looking to do. And I think that's what I ultimately was able to pull off, I hope. But yeah, look, I mean, there's two things about that too. I mean, people ask, well, what would George do in an age of Twitter? And my answer is, take a look what the president does. He's on social media an awful lot, and I think George would be on 10 times as much, because he would love the idea that he could get his message across faster, quicker, and not have to rely on guys like me to get it done. That's genuinely how I think that he would have responded to being in this kind of age where it's instant gratification and instant messaging.
Yeah, it feels like maybe George Steinbrenner's Twitter feed would be like drinking out of a fire hose. It would just constant.
It wouldn't surprise me if George one of these days, jumped onto a table in a parking lot somewhere, because he was a football guy and he had football in his blood. And like I said before, he had a real affinity for Buffalo. And so I know that he'd probably be delighted by what's come to pass with the Bills becoming so good the last couple of years. And he really kind of, not always for the good. I mean, I think part of the problem with baseball today is a lot of baseball fans looking at it like a football game. And you just, you can stress over 17 football games. You try and do that over 162 baseball games, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And that's what George did. I mean, he dreamed of the 162-0 season. That was, of course, never going to happen, but that didn't mean he couldn't want one.
Right. With Mike Vicaro for a few more minutes here on WGR, the most incredible phase or section of Steinbrenner's years as the Yankee owner for me is the Winfield stuff. I mean, to Bulldog's point about what we kind of know about him or knew about him growing up, Reggie Jackson, feuding with Reggie, feuding with Billy Martin, firing him and hiring him over again every 5 times. I mean, that stuff is more common knowledge. From that documentary and your book, like the Winfield stuff is just completely surreal. You mentioned the Bills indirectly. Terry Pegula, who is absolutely not interested in the spotlight, like he's the opposite. They have a press conference after Sean McDermott is fired, and for 2026, Pegula, we kind of thought really stepped in it, talking about Bills player Keon Coleman. Like, no, the coaches wanted him. And just like that's maybe this generation's version of something bordering on incredible for an owner to say. But Mike, I mean, the story, you could go on forever about Steinbrenner and Winfield. I think having an owner just so brazenly, openly critical of a star player on his own team, it'd be like if Pegula just had signs in the suite every week, fire Keon Coleman or something like that. It's just like hard to believe. Winfield.
Guys, you nailed it. Really, that's a great story to bring up, because if you want to really illustrate just what it was like, what Steinbrenner was like, think about this. So I was asked by somebody not long ago, I think I went on campus yesterday, and they said, refresh my memory, why did he get suspended the second time? Didn't he hire a private eye or something to dig up dirt on Winfield? And I laughed and I said, all right, think about that and think about how crazy that would be. Now let me tell you what really happened. It wasn't a private eye. It was a guy out of a Damon Runyon play named Howie Spira, who basically owed his life to the 5 families of the New York mob, who was desperate for money, and who basically gave George, information for $40,000. This is who George Steinbrenner used, by the way, to ruin his best player, to blackmail his best player. It's insane. It's literally insane. That's what it was. So the crazy story you thought it was is actually 10 times nuttier. And that's exactly how it happened. I mean, a lot of times I had to read this stuff 2 and 3 times over because I just couldn't believe this can't be true, but it was exactly true. It was 100% real. And to me, that's why there's really nobody else to compare. Look, you talk about the Pegula incident, right? I mean, that's probably considered, oh my God, that's the day that the Bills almost had a complete meltdown because the owner said something off the grid a little bit. That was a Tuesday around the Yankees with Steinbrenner. Yeah. That was Tuesday, and on Wednesday there was something even crazier, and on Thursday, you probably wouldn't even know how to put it into words. That's honestly what life with George was like. And the only thing I regret, guys, is that I'm too young to have actually been around for Apex George. Look, the version of George I got was heading toward the one that became more beloved, that was starting to win. And, winning is such a great deodorizer, right? I mean, as long as you win, nobody cares about the owner when they win. They only want to complain about the owners when they lose. They're looking for scapegoats, and everybody then says the owner doesn't care enough. They don't care enough about it as I do. But look, that's one thing that Yankee fans never wondered about George Steinbrenner. He sometimes cared too much.
Yeah, you weren't there for the early stuff, like you just said. I wonder, like, have you thought at all? We've kind of covered it, I guess, whether or not someone with that kind of personality could fly in today's sports world.
I don't think so. Only because, you know what, it's just everything. And people are so cautious now because they're raised that way. You know, George was able to be himself because that's how he was in his business dealings. It's how he was as a baseball owner. I mean, right now, like you know, Hal Steinbrenner basically, you know, he's our age. He's come of age at a time when you know enough to be cautious, especially if you have a famous face and a famous last name. You know, you just never know who's got a camera pointed at you. You never know who's got a live mic somewhere, and you know that could be the difference between between having a successful time as an owner and then wind up on page 6 and not page 1 in the vernacular of the New York Post. And so I think people are just, because of that, they're just so overly cautious now. You're not allowed to really express yourself in ways that Steinbrenner does. And look, even somebody like Jerry Jones who doesn't seem bothered by it, you know, the fact of the matter is if you're not going to win once every 30 years, no one's really going to care what you have to say about it. You're just going to be a silly old man rambling in clouds. And that's kind of where Jerry Jones is. So, you know, just a very unique personality at a very unique time. And look, I know, especially people in Buffalo roll their eyes when people in New York talk about stuff like this, but it's different in New York because, you know, you have the tabloids and you have the back pages, and they were always at war in those days, so it was always going to be in the news, and that's just a unique situation, you know? Yeah. Like Al Davis, I think if Al Davis had ever owned the Jets or the Giants, he might have been similar to George in that regard because he would have had the back pages to use as an ally or an enemy. And he didn't have that in Oakland or in L.A. where he was. There just aren't back pages there. You know, it's a very unique element to New York, and George knew how to play those both back pages like a Stradivarius.
Mike, last thing before you go. The title is The Bosses of the Bronx, plural. Hal Steinbrenner, his legacy is tracking toward what? Yankee fans complain about not spending enough, and, you know, maybe your point about, as a compliment, knowing to stay out of the spotlight isn't everybody's favorite, thing about an owner, especially a Steinbrenner. So I don't know. What's your opinion of how Yankee fans perceive him and where it's going?
The Yankees go on a couple of games. They've lost 2 in a row. I guarantee you, when I hang in with you guys and go on my phone, there'll be 3 Yankee fans wanting to fire Cashman, want Hal to sell the team. And he understands that that's out there. He understands people think, well, what would my father do? He's never thought of being George's son as a burden. He always calls it a privilege. He thinks it's a civic duty for the Steinbrenner family to make the Yankees a competitive team every year. And all that stuff is true. But the fact of the matter is that fans only care about winning and losing. And to Yankees fans, you can call them spoiled, but the reason why they're spoiled is because they have a mission statement about winning a championship or bust. And guess who wrote that mission statement? It was George Steinbrenner. So, you know, Hal can't exactly complain about that because that's what he inherited. That's what he has. And but the thing of it is, I mean, look, his dad didn't have to go up against the limitless pockets of the Dodgers or the Blue Jays or even in his own city. You know, Steve Cohen is a one-man show, but he's got $24 billion of his own money. You know, Al doesn't have that. The Yankees as a whole don't have that. And, you know, when George was building the Yankees as the dominant team in town over the Mets had an owner in Lorinda de Roulet who would, you know, ask why they couldn't throw the foul balls back so they could wash them and use them tomorrow. Mets fans can complain about Steve Cohen, but he's not doing that. And that's what Hal has to deal with every day, and George just didn't have to do that. And I think that's a big difference also.
I have one Yankee fan friend who lives in the tri-state. He is unbelievable. To Mike's point about messages on his phone, yeah. This guy, I see him once a year for a fantasy draft in Philadelphia. I don't know anybody like him. Everything is the worst.
Yeah.
Everything is the worst, always.
It's hilarious because, you know, Yankee fans down here usually have friends who are Mets fans too. And I've always wanted to ask these Yankees fans, how about you ask your buddies who are Mets fans how much they wouldn't mind being in the playoffs every year, winning 93, 94, 95 games every year like the Yankees. Right. I mean, ask them how they would. Ask them if they wouldn't mind signing up for that. I bet you they would. I bet you most teams in baseball would.
Crazy. Well, it's so nice to have chatted with you, Mike. We may have done this 20 years ago in different places, Bulldog and I, but when Bulldog mentioned in the book and this opportunity, we were both really excited about it. The Bosses of the Bronx from Mike Vicaro, our guests here today on WGR. Thank you, Mike. Good luck.
I hope you guys have a nice long run with the Sabres because that'll be a lot of fun stuff to talk about the next couple of months, hopefully.
Yes.
For sure. Thank you.
Thanks for that. That would be great. Mike Vicaro, again, the Bosses of the Bronx. We'll take a break for the update. Brian Koziol joins us at 5 to talk Sabres and the Masters. Pregame for Sabres Blue Jackets at 6. We don't know anything about the lineup this one. because no morning skate played last night. So goalie, defenseman, forwards. It's well, what would you do? Lines are open. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Are right back to it. It's game 2 of a back-to-back. Tonight they are home as they will play host to Columbus. Pregame is at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. And with it being a back-to-back, there was no morning skate. So in net tonight, it is unknown, especially following yesterday with Alex Lyon leaving the morning skate early with a lower body injury. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen did play last night, so it could be Luukkonen, Colton Ellis, and Lyon if he is healthy enough to play. We'll find out all that information closer on to puck drop at 7. And Sabres Injury Report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Around the rest of the league, it is a very packed night tonight and some games to keep an eye on for the Eastern Conference playoff race. We'll get started a little bit earlier than the Sabres, 6:45 to get the night rolling. Toronto at the Islanders. Also at 7, Montreal plays host to Tampa Bay. The Flyers are at the Red Wings, and the Senators, they host the Florida Panthers. And then to the Masters, round 1 is well and truly underway. Last year's champion, Rory McIlroy, along with Sam Burns, are your co-leaders at 5 under par. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I mean, 2 wins is huge. Obviously, it's a tight race right there for first in the Atlantic. We want to do whatever we can to try to increase our, lead now. I guess we're in first now, but obviously 2 really good teams chasing us. And, just want to stack up some wins, get some points, and continue to push and get ready for the playoffs.
Alex Tuch, great deflection to tie the game 3-3 on the Krebs shot pass, I guess. That was slick. And you see Tuch on the bench talking to Krebs after the goal, showing him, I don't know, I couldn't read his lips, but he was turning his stick on the bench as if to show Krebs what happened on that. Because it's not along the ice. It's kind of a nothing play. Krebs, I guess, smartly backs up.
Threw it at the net.
And
right.
throws it at the net.
Yeah. I can't give you a shot pass there. That's just a shot you're hoping someone can tip.
Okay.
A shot pass is, I'm making this look like a shot, but I'm shooting it toward your stick.
Was that Dahlin on Benson's goal? Maybe?
Maybe more, but yeah, he might have been shooting for, they're
Benson.
both doing the same thing. They're shooting for traffic, hoping it hits something and goes in. So they're pretty similar plays.
But Dahlin is shooting wide.
Yeah. Right.
Neither shot has any chance of going in without a bounce.
Yeah, Shesterkin is right there. The ice level replay really showed you what the deflection did and what it does to a goalie. He sees that shot the whole way. His glove is right there. He's just ready to catch it, and then whoop.
Does it drive you crazy? Would it drive Owen crazy? The number of times in the NHL where you see a defenseman reach his stick out as the shot is being taken. McLeod's goal. Nobody's was ever talking about a deflection on that shot. So I guess there wasn't one.
Yeah, he just sort of, a knuckleball, I think.
You see it all the time. The D, which I guess he should do, puts his stick to try to block the shot in that way.
Yeah, you want. I think you want your guys to try to deflect as many up into the netting as you can. But the worst, especially if it's a relatively easy, quote unquote, easy shot, right? Like if you've got it and the guy goes for that, okay, I know what you're doing, but I'm here, I'm ready for this shot, and if you deflect it and it doesn't go out of the, or you just even get your stick in the way, that can happen.
That's what I'm saying on that goal.
You miss the launch point as the goalie, and that can be everything. I know this from talking to Owen over the years. You can't just react to the puck as it's coming at you. You're cooked. You got to be reading where you think this guy is going with it based on how his stick is positioned. Which is why the Lafreniere goal might look like it's a shot from far enough out that you think, come on, can I
second one?
Can I get a save there? But he did such a good job of just pulling it in by his feet to make it look like he was going to keep carrying the puck and maybe come in and deke or something. And instead, as he's pulling it in, it's just boom, it's gone. It's just so tricky.
Tuch on Vasilevsky on Monday scored a goal. Was not a breakaway.
Right.
But inside shot. Moves the puck just a split second inside.
That's why that
clean.
launch angle is so critical to the goalie's eyes. And so anything that obscures it, even if it doesn't get deflected, can be problematic, which is what you're. Yeah, I mean, damned if you do, damned if you don't. It probably is more beneficial to block the shot, but when you miss, it can be tough for the goalie.
Speaking of goalies, first segment we were talking about who goes tonight, and I asked Bulldog off the air because you thought Ellis was kind of like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I really would be surprised if Ellis didn't get this game.
And I strongly feel that it should be Luukkonen's game unless he doesn't feel it. There's something else to know. I know how rare it is anymore where goalies play back-to-back, but I got 3 games left. I'm in first, and I've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
And the guy on deck possibly to play is your third-string guy, not even the backup.
Who hasn't started in months.
I don't think there'd be any question that Lyon would get this game with the way they've handled the season. I don't even think the couple of bad outings would be. I think he'd get the game.
I agree.
No question. But
I don't think we'd have anything to talk about.
Right.
I agree.
And we don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know that he's unavailable. I just know that he left yesterday's game day skate early and was being looked at by trainers, and that's all we know.
But you think, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, that Ellis is highly likely?
Yeah. I mean, I could be. I'm
You're open to being wrong about anything.
Yeah, you remember that 20 years ago or more? I'm open to being wrong about anything. It just means like you can change my mind. And obviously, if we're in here doing pregame and Luukkonen leads them out for warmups, then I'll be wrong. I just think the way that they've handled the goalies all year long, despite the urgency you should be feeling with the standings being what they are, I just think you just last week or 10 days ago decided Luukkonen was going to play 2 and then 3 games in a row. And now we're like just a few days later and he's going to play back-to-back for the first time in I don't know how long. That just seems like something – it would surprise me if they did that. I recognize the advantage of having your best guy there for this game. You're going to be playing another desperate team. The whole team is – coming off a back-to-back with travel. So you're probably not going to get the best they have tonight. Maybe, I don't know. So you'd like to give yourself the best chance.
Who gives them the best chance?
Right. That's the question. And what risk, if any, is there by rolling Luukkonen into a situation where it has not happened at all this year? And again, I don't know when the last time would have been that he played back-to-back games in the ever even like
back-to-back days.
Back-to-back days. That's what I mean. Yeah, not back-to-back games. Thank you.
Yeah.
Important clarification.
January he played back-to-back games.
Yeah, and he just recently has played back-to-back games since they decided he was the number one guy. So right. I just for all that, and then you get to Ellis has been on the team. He's been a good guy. He's the third goalie. That's a hard role. Let's get him another game here. We might need him. That's another part of this we don't know is how serious, if it's serious at all, is what happened to Lyon yesterday in the game day skate. If he's in doubt for any of these games, let alone the games that start in 2 weeks, then you might want to get Ellis a game in case you have to have him dressed as your backup for the playoffs. So I think all that just adds up to me, I would be very surprised. It could happen. They could care the most about the standings and not anything else.
Well, that is almost all of it for me, as opposed to like these last even 2 months. I would never have wanted to stray for this run, but the finish line is in sight, and you can win out and probably win the division, if not the conference. Like you don't have full control over that. Tampa would have to win out, and that could still happen too. But now I'm like this close, and I think it's enough of a goal to take that seriously, and I think the whole team would feel that way. And I wonder how it would go over. Not that everybody would be on the same page in the room, but we're going to play our third stringer with a 2-point lead in the division and 3 games left and 3 days off. I mean, he faced 1 shot on goal last night, and it's an easy trip home, or it should have been. I guess I don't know.
Right, more things we don't know.
Right.
How did the travel go?
How was the flight? But yeah, I think I would easily get to Luukkonen unless there was something that would change that's unknown, like how he's feeling. So high drama, not the highest.
Right. We don't get this a lot.
We don't get this a lot because usually Paul knows, people know who the goalie's going to be in the morning.
Because there's a skate, and the especially when you've got the 3 goalies, it's always been with 2 goalies, which net, the starter always is in the one net, and that was, a code that was not particularly hard to crack. Now it's been even more obvious because you've got 3 guys, 2 guys have to share a net. The guy who isn't sharing a net is the guy who's going to play that night. But again, no clues there. And along with that, like the rest of the lineup is, it's just, they're not great mysteries with it. But they did shuffle 2 defensemen in and 2 forwards in last night, and I would expect more of that. I don't know that the 2 guys who went in on the blue line, Timmins and Kesselring, have to be, if one of them to me for sure is coming out. Maybe both. They're not touching those other 4, assuming they're healthy. So I think, what do you want to do there, right? Is Metsa get a turn back in? And we back to Metsa and Stanley? I'd advocate for Stanley and Kesselring. Kesselring was all right last night, but he only played 10 minutes, so I don't know if Lindy is still sour on him to some extent or what. But I've been wanting to see Kesselring with Stanley as a potential playoff pair for weeks, and we haven't gotten it. So I'd like to see that tonight, and then I'll bet Greenway goes back in and maybe Dunn too on the 4th line in place of Kozak and Pearson, who went in last night. But guessing was, again, no morning skate.
Not even optional.
Right.
You're required to not skate.
Right.
That was the requirement. Stay home. Travis Yost writing about the playoff format and how unfair it can be, as he does every year, and he's right. The point this year, this is a few weeks ago at least, was Dallas, Minnesota, with the Pacific Division being as far behind as those teams in the Central. Well, that part hasn't changed, and that's different from the East. But Dallas, Minnesota, behind the Avalanche, so teams that for basically most of the season have been lined up to play each other, and that will still happen. 104-102. In our division, it's 102-102. Tampa and Montreal with the Sabres at 104. You might not be the world's biggest Canadians backer, like believer. How about believer instead of backer? I'm not saying you're a fan or not, but like how dangerous an opponent that is. Mm-hmm. So you might be a certain way about it. For me, Tampa Montreal is the dream. Like that's if that's a first round series.
Yeah, me too. Take one of them out.
So that just adds to the importance of tonight with that thought in mind. And that's not to say Boston couldn't win or anybody else, Ottawa, but Tampa, Montreal having to go head-to-head in the first round. I don't know. Is there a matchup there that would make you want to push back on that? Is there something about the Canadians that you think maybe Tampa would be especially tough on? Would Tampa just score at will?
I don't know about score at will, but I'm not sure how they are at locking a game down. A part of the reason I feel pretty confident about the Sabres against Montreal is that I feel like when they are on their game, and I expect them to be on their game when the playoffs get here, I mean, they're not going to pitch shutouts here, okay? But I think they can limit a dangerous offensive team. And that's really what if Montreal doesn't have that. I don't know that they can fall back on what the Sabres did in the third period last night or what they did to Tampa really for the entire game, which is just lock you up. So I think Montreal needs their offense to go for it to go. And I think if you can limit that, which I like the Sabres' chances of doing, then I think you can take them down. I don't know about Tampa's how good they are at that. I haven't watched them in that way enough. I assume that, they're an excellent team. They've had excellent results. I'm would want to be reasonably confident they know how to lock down a game. with a 1 or a 2 goal lead. So I think, Montreal to me just isn't all the way there. I think Buffalo and Tampa are both better overall. I think, boy, it's tough with Kucherov. I mean, any line that Kucherov is on is probably the line you got to default to as like the line I would take. But that Montreal first line is so high end. I love it, but I just don't trust everything else.
They play tonight. They also played March 31st in Tampa. The Canadians won 4-1, 2 empty net goals. We're talking about a Sabres playoff game on this date in 1988, and you were saying how you just rewatched it and just madness at the end,
Yes.
fights. Not fights in this example, but that game in Tampa, there were a lot of penalties, roughing penalties, early third and then late third.
Yeah.
And the rematch tonight in Montreal, 7 o'clock, Lightning at Canadians.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Tampa try to do what they did to Buffalo, the time before last.
Yeah, there might be a score to settle there.
We're going to show, just show you what's what. You think you're built for this? Here's how it's going to be.
Especially with what it looks like on paper.
Yeah.
That happened when they met not even 2 weeks ago. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. This is WGR. Hop along, Fred does not sound good.
Hop along, Fred.
It sounds like he's got a grade 1 or a grade 2 or a grade 3.
Fred is nursing something that I'm almost positive at this point is paw related, not like leg related, because I've done all the whatever. What do I know? I mean, your pet is limping. You sort of like, okay, you feel around. I've done this with other dogs, and like you get to a spot on their leg or near their hip or whatever, and like they do that thing if they're like sitting for you, and you get to the spot, their head comes at your hand. Like they don't bite you. They're sort of like, hey, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't like that. And nothing. The whole leg, the hip, nothing. I get on the bottom of the paw, and that's the thing. So, but I haven't had enough of us in the house at one time to sort of really corral him and look at it to see, like, is there just something stuck in the underside of his paw or what?
A sliver?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
Soak it.
We just don't soak it,
right? That's how you get a sliver out.
Yeah, I'm gonna
soak his foot.
I'm gonna soak Fred's
paw.
foot.
Soak his paw.
I don't know.
Can't you?
I don't like my chances of that going well.
Him staying in there?
Yeah. No.
Really? He doesn't like the water?
Not on demand. No, I don't. No, I like.
Soak it or no? 803-0550.
No.
Find out what's
along,
in there.
Hop along, Fred. We'll have some. My wife, our schedules has been wacky. We'll have enough people to like sort of get a look at it. But I feel like it's good that it's the paw because
you're ruling out like an ACL tear.
I'm ruling out like thousands of dollars of surgery.
What is your verdict on my thumb here?
I haven't really seen you use it.
Well, it hurts.
I mean, I believe you.
I'm trying not to use it.
From here, it looks to be swollen.
Does it?
Yeah. Your thumb looks fat. Let me see your other thumb. We got to take a break.
Yeah, this can wait.
Yeah.
Brian Koziel next.
Game 2 of a back-to-back for the
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart.
Where'd you get that thing? I trapped it. Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Well, we got our answer. Lindy Ruff was inclined to announce that Colton Ellis will start tonight. I'm not shocked. And we don't know what we don't know about it. We'll talk to Paul in an hour, what else might have been said. I just thought Luukkonen was the guy for this one with what's at stake and 3 days off following tonight. One shot in the third last night. Come on.
Well, I wonder if the other piece of information that Zach had in the update there played into it. Because when we talked this through in the 3 o'clock hour, how seriously is Lyon hurt could be a factor in how hard you want to push Luukkonen with the playoffs looming. And Lindy saying Lyon might not be ready for the start of the playoffs. But if I'd known that, well, I don't think we even are having this conversation because it would have been obvious to me you're playing Ellis.
He's got to give Ellis a game.
Yeah, you got to get him ready, and you don't want to risk back-to-back and however many 3 out of 4 or whatever it would have been for Luukkonen. You don't want to put him in a spot to do something he hasn't done in years when your backup goalie is now compromised. So you got to be even more careful.
Sure. Yep, that's right. That's probably all of it. Brian Koziol with us now. He'll be on the broadcast tonight, and we'll talk a little Masters here, of course, with Brian, day one. Brian, you made it back successfully, I assume, from South Carolina?
Yep. Very smooth flights, and got to see a ton of the golf today, too, which was great.
We'll get to that. What's your take on how things are going to play out here with the goalies? We were arguing about it earlier. I thought Luukkonen was the move, but Bulldog basically just put a blanket on it. And Ruff is saying Ellis will play, which is interesting, too, that he would announce it.
He normally doesn't ever really want to reveal the goalie.
Right.
I think, yeah. I mean, so that's, I guess, stunning in some sense.
Right. We were joking around during the break, Brian, before you came on, just to squeeze this in. Like, how many times are we going to hear him say game time decision in this? Like, what about the lineup? Game time decision. What about the D? Game time decision. What about just instead? I don't know how deep he went on the rest of the lineup, but at least we got the goalie out of him. Sorry.
No, I think probably what you're saying about I think the injury piece of information to Lyon probably makes this decision a little bit more understandable. Mike, I was with you. I'm thinking to me, there's an advantage, and I'll piggyback off. I did hear you guys talk about this to open your show today. I think there is an advantage of playing maybe Boston as the wild card first round matchup. So if I'm thinking I want the best possible matchup, I'd like to avoid Tampa and Montreal in first round. So I want to make sure that I am finishing in first in the Atlantic for whatever meaning that has. The meaning for me is who's the best matchup, and I think it's the Bruins. So
I agree.
I would like to see that happen. With that being said, obviously then you are trying to win out because it's so tight. It looks like there's not going to be I doubt we're going to get a scenario where the Dallas game is meaningless for the Sabres. I would especially expect because of the fact that somebody tonight's guaranteed to get 2 points in that Tampa-Montreal game that nothing will be clinched ahead of time so much. Again, maybe it could, but I think the math would say it wouldn't. So I think you're trying to win all 3 games, and I think to piggyback on both of your points, I think, Mike, you're right. Like the fact that you have 3 days in a row staring you at the face of rest, and because of his third period of only having to face 1 shot, I mean, he essentially got almost a period off. Like, to me, I would have really, really thought hard about Luukkonen. However, if you know Ellis maybe is now going to be a part of your postseason plans and, thinking, God, could he be in a playoff game? Like, we need to get him in here. And I guess this is the last scenario that makes sense on the calendar to do that. If he's going to play at all in the regular season, to me, this is the spot right here, I guess. So it's understandable, and I'm not surprised either, although I would have really, really, really wanted to gamble, and I don't know if gamble's the right word. I really would have wanted to push Luukkonen in here because of how last night went. Had he had to face 18 shots in the third, okay. Had they had to travel from Florida, okay. But, a short flight and an almost off third period, I would have tried to have pressed it possibly here until we got the Lion piece of information today about the injury.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to know, how much of a curiosity it is, but what this decision would have been if Lyon isn't hurt. I think the decision actually, it would have been Lyon. Right. I think if Lyon doesn't get hurt in the skate yesterday, he's playing this game without question because that was their rotation anyway, and he's the backup. So, yeah, maybe it was never going to be Luukkonen.
Maybe.
That's true.
We might have to start.
You're right.
Sorry, Brian.
But if there's no injury, you're right. It's a Lion night, and then you're probably having a totally different discussion to start your show today instead of this debate, which I think is a warranted debate to have, maybe up until we had maybe this extra piece of information with Lion's injury.
It's also a relatively new development to think that it's probably now a given that Luukkonen will start every game in the playoffs. I mean, maybe he falls apart or something and that changes.
Yep.
But that was the conversation we've been having since when? Since they started getting hot. Like, what do you do when you get there if you have 2 goalies who are playing every night and they're both winning? Maybe you just keep going with that. But now, if Lyon isn't going to be ready for the playoffs, which Ruff raised as at least a possibility, if not a likelihood, then I doubt Ellis gets games. It's going to be Luukkonen, like a lot of teams will do, every game, right?
I think probably that it was. I'm guessing Lindy would have liked to have maybe had one goalie rise up. Ultimately, it did. Luukkonen just was outstanding. Lyon had a couple of off games to the point where he went off of the rotation in the automatic consistent basis there, which maybe gave us the decision. I know when he first went with Luukkonen 2 in a row a week and a half ago, I still thought, hey, there's plenty of games left that there's no reason why if Alex Lyon, if he gets back in here and plays 3 more times and looks outstanding like he had been, that they still could go into the playoffs thinking that either goalie is a possibility, rotation is a possibility. I think now with what we've seen over these last 2 weeks with Luukkonen really raising the level of his game and Lyon having a couple that probably he would not like to file on his resume, that I think you're going into the playoffs thinking Luukkonen's going to play every single game unless something crazy happens.
How do you feel about them overall, Brian? I mean, what hasn't been said about just the amazing season that they've had? Now you've got 3 left and a real look at first place. They got to hope Ellis comes through. Luukkonen gets Chicago and Dallas. I started to jump in earlier and say, now we might want to watch Dallas's results and see what they might need, if anything, from Game 82 next week. But is it a surprise to you, with as successful as they've been, in the second half and really more than that they are this close to winning the division with the lead and 3 games left?
I think yes, and more stunned also too, in the sense that they've played at such an incredible clip since December 9th that it's amazing that they have a very realistic possibility of starting the playoffs on the road as well. Like it just like the fact that they had, it was the best 41 game stretch in the history of the franchise. And, they're going to, if they finish well here in these last 3 games, have one of their best totals in, recent memory. Like, it seems as though, like, it should feel easier almost in that sense. Now, the spot of they were in last in December, the rise to first in their division, I mean, that is incredible. Obviously, nobody saw that coming. It continues to just, holy cow, I got to remind myself, like, look how far they have come here in the second half of the season. But then when you look at what their record has been and the historical perspective of, what was the one we were talking about a few weeks ago, the best 40-game span in the history in the league other than the Bruins of 1929 and then Detroit and Boston one other time. Like, you would think that they almost would be feeling a little bit more at ease here at the end, almost like enjoying the last week or two of the regular season, like a lot of times we see with some of these dominating teams in the regular season. But the Atlantic has just been so good. I mean, probably even up until, I don't know, a week or two ago, there was even the Bruins were even close enough to the point where you thought, like, could Buffalo drop to wild card 1 here? Like, and it wouldn't even, not to take away from their accomplishment of breaking the drought and what they've done, but the story of going from last to first, when you're like, oh, they ended up being wild card 1, like it doesn't write the Hollywood script as well, for whatever that's worth. It's probably not worth that much, but for them to go from last to first and then win the division and hang the banner, like I think there's some meaning in that, and they can feel really good about that accomplishment if they can pull it off here during these last 3 games.
With Brian Koziol, we'll see about the rest of the lineup pregame at 6 when Paul Hamilton joins us. If you didn't say so just then or at other times we've talked, you could have a different opinion than before. What is the Boston matchup like your favorite idea for their chances? It's got to be the likeliest matchup at this point, right? Or close to it, depending on what happens around them with the Lightning and Canadiens. What's the best case scenario?
I think it's the Bruins. I just think right now, in terms of what Buffalo's done against them and their speed, I like their matchup there. I know, Boston also, too, in some sense this year has surprised many. I thought they would be near the bottom again like they were last year, but, they obviously have turned it around nicely with some young players. But I wouldn't say there's a ton of players on the Bruins that, like, strike fear in me other than Pasternak. We know he can dominate a game at any moment, but Tampa's lineup to me in terms of maybe the other intangibles beyond just goal scoring. I mean, like, to me, if I'm like, all right, well, Kucherov and Pasternak are a wash, like, what's next? Well, to me, I'm like, well, the best goalie is sitting in Tampa's net probably of all these teams, and that's Vasilevsky. They've got an amazing defenseman in Radish. They've got obviously the toughness factor, the playoff experience factor. Like, there's a lot more to me that I feel like are checking boxes in Tampa's column than they are in some of the other teams. Montreal, I think, would be the most entertaining series. I think they can match up and play that running gun style that we see the Sabres at times do this year. And they've got as money of a pressure player in anybody right now in Caulfield. He seems to just be loving handling these pressure moments. He leads the league in game-winning goals. Anytime there seems to be a big moment, he's involved, whether it's an overtime goal or something to tie it late. So I think that would be probably the one that would be on the edge of your seats, no doubt about it, up and down offensively. The Tampa game seems like a war. The Bruins, to me, for whatever it is, seems like the lesser of all those evils. I'd sign up for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Pasternak and Kucherov, I like that as those wash. Who's Gensel on the Bruins? I don't think that they have that guy. They've got depth, they've got other guys, but I don't feel like that's a team that is that threatening to me. Like I tend to think like Casey Middlestat matters to you. That used to be me. Like, I'm not losing to them. Like, that's not gonna that can't happen. That doesn't compute.
All right.
I agree. Yeah, and I know Ottawa obviously could be thrown into that mix too, depending upon how they finish here with wild card 1 and wild card 2. I think probably I'd still rank Boston slightly ahead of Ottawa if I was going to say who do I think is the best matchup. I would be fine with Ottawa. I know Allmark played great, but in general this year they haven't gotten consistent goaltending. I'd be okay with Ottawa. I think I'd still sign up for Boston if you're giving me any of the choices, though.
Yeah, Ottawa to me is pretty scary. I think the goal, obviously the whole thing falls apart if Allmark can't play. But they suppress offense as well as anyone, and they're on you with their forecheck. There's a lot of top to bottom speed there that I think is tough. Like, I don't think anything about Buffalo's game there last Thursday was fluky. I think Ottawa, that's what Ottawa does to you. They're going to be on you in your own end, and they're not giving up a lot in their defensive zone. And that was without, their top two defensemen. They're getting Shabbat back 2 weeks or so after a broken arm. He's back in the lineup tonight for Ottawa.
Sanderson is already back.
Right.
Brian Koziel with us.
Some of the comments. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Say some of the comments after that Ottawa game. I remember the players saying it was frustrating that they said it was their worst game for breakouts in over a month, and they said they felt like it was a lot of perimeter game, which I guess kind of goes Bulldog with exactly what you're saying. Like maybe that was a really frustrating game for them to have to play.
Let's talk about the Masters. Round 1, still a lot left to happen. Scotty Scheffler, the pre-tournament favorite, is on 13. So a lot of guys are done, but still many are still out there. Rory McIlroy and Sam Burns in the lead at 5 under. McIlroy turned it on, Brian. Maybe you were watching. It didn't seem like the best start for him, but he got rolling.
Yeah, I made birdie on 2 and then gave it right back on 3, and that was his only blip the rest of the way. Perfect scorecard other than the 5, adding 5 birdies to it, 6 birdies in total. Super impressive. His second best first round ever in Masters history, so that obviously sets him up well. Winning back-to-back, we know is difficult. Only 3 legends have done it, Nicklaus, Faldo, and Woods. So the ability to go back-to-back in this event is something that has been proven over time to be a difficult task. But, man, does he seem like just a different person in terms of how he's mentally approaching this? I was listening to him talk with Scott Van Pelt on the broadcast after his round today, and he said he would come here every week. He said it was like a double weight on his shoulders. He said it was – not only have I not won the Masters, but he said attached to the Masters was the Grand Slam, and that had built up for 11 years. And he's like, yeah, I was still nervous today on the first tee like I am before any big tournament. But he said walking down that first and second hole, he said, I got like this Zen moment and kind of just felt like, okay, I'm fine now. And he said a huge piece of that is that he obviously has won this event, and boy, he putted perfectly. The putt he made on 15 down the hill, it's so slippery. Literally, you could put it into the water if you're not careful from where he was in the back of that green, and he ended up rolling in a long birdie putt. His iron approaches, I thought, were excellent. So, I mean, if he's in control of his game with his irons, I mentioned to you yesterday, like, it's all about iron control at Augusta National. I think that's why Scheffler's off to a good start, too. The shot he hit into the second on the par 5 was awesome today to get him going. How awesome would it be if we can get a duel between world number 1 and world number 2? There's a lot of nice names there, too, that are former champions that are sitting up there, too.
Mike doesn't want a duel between world number 1 and world number 2 because he doesn't have either of the top
got
3.
neither of them.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I've got McIlroy. I'll take that. And I have Rose, and it's kind of a weird dynamic in here because Bulldog bet Rose. And I love this bet so much, just over-exaggerated cheers for everything, good or bad. Like just, Spieth just missed a birdie putt. I'm pumping my fist because I didn't pick him. Round 1, I mean, so inconsequential.
Right.
But you and I are both on Rose.
Right.
I don't know if I like that. I sort of going against you. This is what it's like when Brian picks.
Right.
And we team up on everybody.
Right.
But Rose is one of my guys, too, and he's -4.
Yeah.
I liked Rose a lot coming into the week. I really did. I thought, again, as we talked about yesterday, he's played here so well. A couple of runner-ups, lost last year in the playoffs, but he knows how to handle pressure putting, and he's been locked in here early, so he's going to be a factor. But some of these other names, like it's almost like a trip down memory lane here, adding to the current Scheffler-McIlroy story where you've got Day is involved, Spieth here a little bit, even Patrick Reed there for a little while. Justin Thomas is coming back up. So the top of the board is loaded, and probably the main takeaway of negative play today has to be from the 2 big live guns, 1 and 2, is DeChambeau and Rahm were just awful. And Rahm couldn't putt, and DeChambeau's irons were all over the place. He was scrambling on every hole, and there's probably many fans that are enjoying the fact that those two guys that are the face of LIV right now both had terrible day ones.
Do we know, were you watching closely enough? I was not, to know if DeChambeau used the club that he made using a 3D printer.
5-iron?
I don't. I know
Probably
it was
did.
a 5-iron. We probably can go back. I'm sure the Masters app is so good with tracking every shot. I bet you it would tell us if he actually did hit the 5-iron at some point today.
He shot 4 over. He tripled a hole. He tripled 11. He left 2 balls in the bunker and then didn't get up and down. So that was like most of his scoring was on that one hole. He kind of stayed 3 over. I think he bogeyed 18. After that, Rahm is 6 over and still out there. I don't know what's going on there. Well, you said he isn't putting well.
Yeah, he was leaving a ton of putts short. That DeChambeau triple on 11, for those that know the hole, there's water on the left side of the green, which is where he actually kind of lost the tournament last year when he was in that final round with McIlroy. He went in the water there on 11, and the lead kind of springboarded away from him. He's on the bunker on the opposite side, on the safe side where he's supposed to miss. He, who plays as aggressive as anybody in the world, hit, I thought, 3 scared shots in a row. Like, I don't want to go anywhere near the water, and the first ball didn't get out, and the second ball didn't get out, and even the third one was still on the short side. I mean, I know obviously sitting here on my couch watching it, it's a lot easier to say, oh, you need to be more aggressive there, but I mean, that's all he played. You know, that's kind of what his mentality is being confident, being aggressive, and he did not look good on that hole right there. And even on 18, the microphone caught him saying, like, what is going on, when the iron spiraled way left on him. So he's a head case right now, and I don't mind watching him struggle. I think there's some entertainment value in that for me.
Most of my long shot picks didn't have great days, except for Jason Day, 3 under, top 4 right now at 69. Somebody who, I mean, it was a dart throw, but at least he's won a major. He's somebody that does have a ceiling, you know, even now that he's older. We'll see if he can hold up over 4 days. Schauffele -2. We talked about some of the guys who struggled. All right, Brian, headed to the arena, I imagine?
Yep. I just pulled over to talk to you guys, so I'm going to continue the route downtown.
Very good. Thanks for your time.
You got it. Talk to you soon, guys.
Brian Koziol will be on our broadcast, of course, as usually happens. Sabres and Blue Jackets pregame at 6. Paul will join us then. Lindy Ruff says it will be Colton Ellis in goal tonight, not Luukkonen, who played last night, or Alex Lyon, who will be out at least a week, according to Ruff. We'll see what happens with the rest of the lineup. Well, pressure's on Ellis. The line moved. It's a pick 'em now.
Oh, yeah?
-110, -110.
Yeah.
Sabres were maybe with an expectation that it would either be Ellis or Luukkonen on a back-to-back, -125 when we started the show, but there's been money on Columbus, which I will not be betting Columbus.
I don't know what I'm going to do. If anything, I'll have to take a look. I went in there to make a Masters bet, but I didn't even look at what. I think I had stuff going last night. I didn't even check on it.
Wow.
I'm sure I didn't
calm
win.
existence over there.
I'm sure I didn't win.
I don't know. I'll put some bets in. Then I'll just check in a few days. Maybe.
That's good. I like when that happens.
It's good. This is what happens with my cards.
That happened one time in here where I went during the show to look. Oh my God! I forgot I had a baseball bet and I won. Wow, look at that!
Yes.
I'm sure that didn't happen.
I have purchased a 66 mantle so many times. It's really one time. I just keep finding. Oh yeah. Oh, look at this.
I have this card.
What Mr. Short-term memory.
What a find.
What a find, exactly.
At least you get to honestly be excited about it each time. I think that's a win.
This is very close to actually being true.
This is where memory loss can be a good thing.
It's only memory loss in the sense that I do move them around all the time. Like almost every day now. I'm making different combinations and piles with making plans. But I don't get to first base. I just end up moving them back and then I'll think about a card like maybe it's over here. Yes. It's like buying it again without having to spend money.
See, I think that's a win.
There's something genius about it. It's really more just like being addle-minded and disorganized. But somewhere in there is brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's about the satisfaction of having
Right.
it and noticing that you have, like buying a car or something like that. Imagine if you just like lost your car all the time, and then you went and found like, oh yeah, I have this. I forgot about this car.
I love this car.
I love
It's a great car.
I forgot I had this car. Woo!
Good to see you.
What a
again,
break.
Car. Yeah.
Maybe not the best comparison. 6 o'clock pregame, Sabres and Blue Jackets. What do you think of how things are going? How important is first place? A lot of the same questions we've been asking for a long time, but the finish line is in sight. 3 games left. Tampa at Montreal tonight. We'll see what happens to the standings after this one. Those games, Sabres, Blue Jackets, Lightning, Canadians. The update is next. Lines are open for you. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
30 minutes to pregame as the Sabres have a back-to-back. They are home against Columbus. Again, pregame at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. We do have news who is going to be in net tonight. It will be Colton Ellis. That was confirmed by head coach Lindy Ruff when he spoke with the media. And also with that news, we got an update on the health of Alex Lyon, who may not actually be ready even for the start of the playoffs. It's going to be at least a week for him as he's dealing with a strained muscle. And the Sabres Injury Report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Around the rest of the league, it's a very packed night tonight. Some notable matchups to keep an eye on, though, with the Eastern Conference playoff race. The night gets started at 6:45, Toronto at the Islanders, and then also at 7 with the Sabres and Columbus. Montreal plays host to Tampa Bay. Flyers are at the Red Wings, and the Senators host the Florida Panthers. While in baseball, the Bisons fell to Syracuse 5-4. The Yankees went down to the Athletics 1-0, and the Mets, they are getting ready to host Arizona. That game will get going just after 7 o'clock. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Samuelson at 16:51, as Rob mentioned, his 10th. Here's a breakaway partial save by Ellis. Big stop with a play behind the net. Jack Finley.
How far back are we going? Is that Tampa? Who's Jack Finley?
I don't know who the hell Jack Finley is. That's why I laughed just now off the air. Like, what? Who? What?
Maybe it's just a saying of Dan Dunleavy's. Jack Finley, that was good.
Like Holy Mackinac?
Holy Mackinac. Put it on the board. Jack Finley. I don't know.
What are hockey catchphrases?
Jack Finley. Is there time for me to use that? Is there a way to do that as a host, as not an announcer? Or just sort of Jack Finley. Good point.
It might be
that was a Jack Finley of a point. Well, his last start was, maybe it was that game, I don't know who Jack Finley is either, in Tampa, February 3rd, before the Olympics. And it was an overtime loss. It was the first of the 4 games against Tampa. And they were ahead late. And right. Ellis was really, he was all over that game. It ends up being 4 on 31, or 4 on 35, actually. But late goal, couldn't blame him. It was a rocket from Radish.
Power play, yeah.
And then an incredible play, Kucherov to Gensel for a breakaway to end it in overtime. Ellis was, part of the Sabres weren't winning yet, but early in the season, before we got completely demoralized and then it would change again, Ellis was playing quite a bit. He started 5 games in November, won 3.
And it was a really cool story when he got here because he's not old, but he's also he probably should have been in the league by now kind of thing. And he hadn't played yet. He'd been just in the minors, and that was his career to this point. And the Sabres claimed him, and they brought him in, and he got a first start at home, I believe, against Detroit, and family and friends in the crowd, and it was really cool. And he was coached by a guy that coached Owen at one time briefly, so we had felt like we had ties to Colton Ellis a little bit through Dan Stewart is the guy's name, who was a St. Louis Blues goalie coach, and then in the minors with Ellis in, I think, Springfield is where that was. But anyway, so it was a really cool story as it happened, and easy guy to root for. Kind of paid his dues and finally getting a shot. And I never thought he'd hang around this long. It's kind of incredible that they made it. You really just got to make it to the trade deadline. Once the trade deadline goes, then the roster limitations are different, and it's not as hard to move guys around and whatever. But, man, to go all year with 3 goalies, or most of the year, whenever they claimed him, whenever he got here, he played almost right away. That's a long haul, but they made it work.
Yeah. That is interesting to think about. How, for a while before they started winning, it was one of the points you would make quickly to just how not major league the franchise is.
Manage the roster here. Get yourself more help on the D and on up front, and stop fooling around with the 3 goalies.
But they didn't want to lose him, and quite possibly they're going to be rewarded. He has to be good.
Yeah.
They would have had someone else if they'd lost him.
If he had, right. Or you could bring Levi up if you needed a guy, like for just tonight, because Lyon's hurt and you don't want to press UPL on a back-to-back. that could have been a move, but
just to go into the playoffs with. I mean,
oh yeah, okay, sure, right.
It didn't have to be Ellis,
right?
If they don't have Lyon. Sneaky Joe makes the point that this could be the end of Lyon here. I mean, he could be healthy enough to dress for the playoffs, but if they make a run, they would have to be pretty desperate to turn away from Luukkonen in a playoff game at this point. Down a couple in a series, or he could get hurt, I suppose. And Joe is like, this could be, what's the tweet? I mean, very possibly he's played his last game for the Sabres.
Yeah, I guess that assertion is they valued Ellis enough to not want to risk losing him by carrying him all year. And so, therefore, does that not signify that you think he'll be there to be the backup next year? I don't know. I'm not
ready to say that yet.
I'm not. Joe's Joe. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can explain why else you hang on to the guy. Like, it's maybe a little odd that you would have if you don't value him enough to think he could be that for you next year. But Lyon's under contract for a very reasonable number next season, and he was good for you. Like, I don't know that I wouldn't want to go into next year. Like, I don't want to carry 3 goalies. I'm not way ahead of time. I don't want to plan to carry 3 goalies, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if their tandem going into next year was Luukkonen and Lyon. The money is easy, and the performance was definitely exceeded the money by miles that you got out of Lyon. So I know the idea is, like, I guess you want to see what's the market. Like, does Lyon on that valuable contract off this year, does that mean he's got a trade value that I can't turn down? Maybe, but it's still a goalie. Like, it would surprise me if somebody said, "Oh, Alex Lyon's a number 1 now. Here's a third-line checking center that I don't want." I'm not sure I can get there, that I would see the value there. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just not – I don't know. I think he might be most valuable just playing 30 games for the Sabres next year, Lyon.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550, pregame at 6. We'll hear from Jack Quinn on the pregame show and Lindy Ruff's comments. No morning anything for the media to be a part of today, so Quinn and Ruff are both from this afternoon, and Ruff divulges that Ellis will start tonight. Earlier, I brought up how this is 38 years to the day of a pretty memorable Sabres playoff game and series. Well, the series wasn't all played in one day. John Tucker scoring 4 goals in a game 3 in a first-round series against Boston. And this really has tapped into certain fans who remember that series pretty well.
Yeah.
And you remember this game, having watched it
I watched
recently.
The final, like the Sabres Classics, or one of the Sabres Twitter account that I follow posted like the final, I don't know the final minutes of the game, and it took forever because there was just fight after fight after fight after fight in the final minute of this game. Fans got involved behind the Bruin bench and security, and like it was mayhem. And I just came across it today, and the caption just said, "Here's all the brawl action between the Sabres and the Bruins." Like, okay, I got nothing better to do for a few minutes. I'm going to sit here and watch this. And it was just a bunch of game action for a bit, and then Krupp is in a fight with Bob Sweeney. Like, that's what started it. And then it was just one after the other for quite a long time.
Uwe Krupp.
Welcome
to the show. Or were you an Uwe Krupp guy?
I would probably say Uwe.
I think you would.
Yeah.
I think he grew into being Uwe.
Yeah.
When he scored that overtime cup winner for the Avs. I think he was pretty much full-on Uwe at that point.
Yeah.
Well, the latest tweet I got about that 1988 series is a short clip of Mike Foligno in Boston getting into it with fans there.
That is what preceded the Sabres fans doing likewise in this game that we're talking
because
about.
That makes it okay.
I know that makes it okay, but on this telecast, it's Ted Darling and Mike Robitaille. And I didn't remember that there was an incident with fans in Boston earlier in the series. But Mike says, what we got here is, these Sabres fans saw what was going on at the Sabres bench in Boston, and now they're just trying to, hold up their end and give Boston some of the same treatment, that kind of thing. So it's, fans throwing beers over the glass and just climbing, and just the players are waving sticks, and it was nuts.
Here or there or both?
I didn't see footage of Boston, but
Okay.
I imagine it was similar. But here, there was all of that.
Why isn't there more fan? Not trying to encourage anybody. Fan player nonsense anymore.
Yeah, it's been
Is security's that much better? I can't imagine it's really that.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
Players have figured out that it's not a winning idea.
It might be like Domi is the last, like that Flyers fan that falls in the penalty box on Domi. You remember this?
I don't.
Domi's in the penalty box in Philadelphia. You've got that camera that you get that shot of the guy sitting there. Right, there's Domi sitting in the box, and there's a fan standing up, banging on the glass right behind Domi. And then the glass falls in, and the guy tumbles into the penalty box with Ty Domi.
How do I not remember that?
What can you imagine
I was a Leafs
happened?
fan.
What do you think happened next?
Did he get a couple of blows in?
He got a couple of shots in. Ty got a couple of shots in on the fan.
And that was probably still a problem.
Yeah.
You're still not allowed to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It
was quite a long time ago now. And I can't recall an incident.
Well, this in Boston, I don't know how narrow that really was, but it's the walkway where the players leave the bench for the locker room, just like we have now, but maybe skinnier. And I'm not sure. I know in this clip there's no tarp over it.
Okay.
Right? So they're accessible.
They're right there. Yeah.
At least for in those days, the whole walk. But anyway, I don't want to start sounding like I'm giving anybody ideas.
You don't do that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not proposing it.
I'm talking to you out there. Don't do that, everyone. This is not a good idea.
Not a good idea. 1988, the Sabres would lose in 6. That was a best-of-7 first-round series. One of the first years, if not the first year of that. It was always best-of-5 until around that time. And Game 4, they come back the next night after all that mayhem, and that's an overtime game where Tucker scores a power play goal in overtime. 6-5. Sal says he was at that one.
All right.
But they lose 5 and 6 to lose the series. The box score of that Game 4 is, I closed it, but I think it was Glenn Wesley takes a penalty in overtime, and Tucker scores on it. And then there's one more penalty after that, Glenn Wesley, gross misconduct. So he probably took exception to the call after the game was over. And what would that be, like throwing your stick at the ref or something?
Yeah.
Swinging it
Yeah.
at somebody? What's a gross misconduct? Or is it maybe, not to get too far in, but just anything you do after the game is over? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I don't think these games were televised in Buffalo.
Well, Game 3 was because Ted Darling and Mike were on the call.
Oh, okay, that's what you're talking
footage.
about.
That's the footage I watched of it.
Why didn't I watch these games? I don't remember watching these games.
I don't know.
It was radio only for me.
I don't know. There is the Niagara. It might be an odd time in their history as far as like where the games were. They go this clip that I saw earlier today that had all these fights in it. That this was going on for so long, and it's the final 15 seconds of the game, and it's just taking 20 minutes. And Ted throws it to the studio a couple of times. And John Gertler is the host, and there's another guy there whose name I can't remember. But at some point, he says the name of, like, back here in the network studios, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't recognize that name. So maybe it was on, like, a cable something that you didn't have.
I don't know. I know I didn't watch it. I'd remember it. We might have had Jones Intercable. Maybe it wasn't available on Jones Intercable.
I don't know what happened there.
Pre-game at 6 for tonight's game, Sabres and Blue Jackets. Stay tuned. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog talking about this little plucky golf tournament, the Masters.
Real underdog story. People are really hoping it gets a foothold and people start to pay attention to it, and that the best players start showing up for it.
We have a mutual friend who's going tomorrow, and he is so excited. First time. We have not talked about the NFL draft at all today. It is 2 weeks from tonight, round one. We might be busy with something else, but they're still going to have it, even if there is a hockey game.
Right.
And I saw a mock draft just a few minutes ago from Hayden Winks, who I think is excellent, from Underdog Fantasy. And his name for the Bills is Chase Bisontis, an offensive lineman from Texas A&M, a guard for the Bills at 26.
Who's this now that said this?
Hayden Winks. You're out on Chase Bisontis?
Knock him off the Christmas list. Christmas card list. I like Hayden Winks. I'm just kidding around.
You do?
I knew who it was. I was trying to be dramatic, and I didn't do anything with it.
Offensive guard?
The only... did I not bring this up with Chris one of the weeks we visited with him, or maybe one of our other draft guests? The only scenario that's palatable to me about that position is if you don't want to pay Osiris Torrance to stay here, and you can get someone to give you, I don't know,
for him,
a second-round pick for him. Like that could be good business to me. Like if you replace a rookie contract with a rookie contract before you got to pay the guy. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be top of the market guard money, but it's going to be big. I mean, it's going to be in the high teens, if not 20s, I think. And so if you don't want to do that, which there certainly could be a reason to not do that, just financially really like the player or not, you got to really love the player to do that. And I'm not sure that I want to go there.
I get it, but that's a tough move for a contender to make.
It is
sort of like a parallel move at best. You're hoping that your new guy is as good or maybe a little better, but you're not making yourself stronger.
Unless you get paid off and you can use that pick to get something else.
That's right.
And but no, boy, a guard at 26 would, I'd be glad there's a hockey game on the day after the draft. Be great if there'd be a hockey game at like 4:00 the day after the draft if they pick a guard at 26.
Okay. You won't be here.
I'm going to call TNT. Well, you keep saying
you're back.
I'm back.
That's right.
Like, I'm only going away for 3 shows.
I keep getting my weeks mixed up.
I'll be here.
You'll be back for the draft.
Yeah, I'm missing the end of the hockey season and the very beginning of the playoffs.
Right. Well, it's a long trip. You might not be back. You're assuming you'll be back. You're expecting to be back.
Who knows how things go out there? Maybe I won't come back.
Ever.
No. I mean...
Big Sky Country.
Big Sky Country. You could fall in with a cult or a militia or something out there.
Who
knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of opportunity out there.
4 days is just long enough to get sucked into that kind of world.
I'm seducible. I'm just telling you right now.
KC Concepcion in this Hayden Winks mock draft goes 13th to the Rams. So everybody seems to like him.
Yeah.
We've liked him. Chris likes him. Hayden Winks likes him. The wide receiver pecking order in this mock draft is Carnell Tate to the Titans at 4. Interesting. Concepcion, wide receiver 2 at 13. Mekhi Lemon at 16 to the Jets. And then it would be Jordan Tyson, 24, in front of the Bills. Who's missing here? Denzel Boston at 30. Anyway, Hayden Winks throwing it down. Sabres and Blue Jackets. Colton Ellis gets the call in net tonight. Alex Lyon injured. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Pre-game next.